Welcome back to the channel. So the PS5 Pro has just launched and comes with performance gains and hardware that certainly rivals what some of the mid-range gaming PCs have to offer. But the question is, are they really worth shelling out more of your hard-earned cash for if you've already got the original PS5? We'll explore today the top 5 considerations, in my opinion, you should be thinking about before pulling the trigger on that shiny new console, and we'll look at the key things the Pro has to offer versus the PlayStation 5. If you're not a big tech geek, then don't worry, neither am I, so I won't be boring you with all the tech specs, just the key ones that you need to know about that set the two consoles apart. There's plenty to get into in this video, so let's dive straight into it. The first main discussion point is what you probably look at first of all, and that is the price. Here in the UK, you can now pick up a disc edition PS5 for around £470 or a digital version from around £390. With the PS5 Pro now weighing in at £700, you do have to ask the question, is it affordable to the mainstream gaming population? And even if it is, what is it going to give me that I don't already have or even need? But say you are comfortable with that price tag, let's see what you're going to get with that price that you may not already have that could convince you that this could be a wise purchase. As you'd expect from the difference in price between the PS5 and PS5 Pro, it comes with an upgraded graphics processing unit or GPU, which can be up to 45% faster and also boasts some new RAM leading to up to 28% improved performance when comparing both with the standard PS5. This sounds really impressive, but I'm keen to point out here this is Sony simply giving the developers the tools to be able to improve graphical fidelity. Whether the developers use the full capability of the PS5 Pro will remain to be seen. However, I think it's safe to say that regardless of what the devs do, it's highly likely in the majority of games you're going to be seeing a boost in frame rate and graphical performance. I think if you do play games where graphics are of paramount importance to your overall experience, such as maybe Spider-Man or Hogwarts Legacy, you would hope that those games would get the updates needed to take advantage of the new hardware. But if you are like me and mainly play multiplayer shooters where you're not as concerned about how things look, and that might be leaves on trees for example, then you do have to ask the question, are the enhancements the Pro provide really aimed at me? The PS5 technically supports ray tracing already, but not really near the same level as you'd see on a high-end gaming PC. The PS5 Pro will be making progressive steps towards this though, with the better hardware equaling better ray tracing capabilities. Lastly, and arguably one of the better improvements Sony are making in the Pro version, is the addition of AI-enabled visual upscaling technologies found in high-end graphics cards such as Nvidia and AMD. This tech uses AI to predict and generate additional frames of animation in between the frames rendered by the console, which could lead to a smoother gameplay experience when you're targeting the higher resolutions such as 4K. This of course will result in generally higher frames per second when using the highest graphics settings. So arguably this is actually a real pro for this new console, and one that shouldn't be taken lightly. For me, mainly playing fast-paced shooters, although on the current PS5 we have the capability for 120 frames per second, it's not all that often I can honestly say that it feels like I'm reaching that frame rate consistently. Of course, with the new hardware in the PS5 Pro, you would hope that 120 frames can be achieved more consistently without too much legwork by the console. One thing though that is the same as the PS5, where I really don't feel like they have taken the opportunity to progress, is the player's ability to change and control their settings to reach that magic 120 FPS. In the PS5 Pro, they are providing additional options to switch from performance to fidelity or quality and resolution modes, though it's likely this is really only turning on and off some of the most performance hogging options such as ray tracing to boost frames. Some games such as Spider-Man 2 are going to give a couple of extra controls in-game to help manage and boost performance to the player's preference, but for the most part it will still be the same as the PlayStation 5. It's highly likely that we are going to see a more steady frame rate on the PS5 Pro, but it's still locked at 120Hz, even for those games that you play at maybe 1080p rather than 4K for example. Given this is a Pro version, for probably the more serious players out there, I would have liked to have seen more customization options to gain performance, with the hope of being able to increase the frame rate beyond 120 FPS when playing at maybe 1080 or 1440p. On a side note, I do think it is time for consoles like the Pro to be stepping into similar options that PCs have to offer as well, that gives players more control of their graphical performance than we see already. I do feel like there are still a lot of restrictions when it comes to console performance, but hey ho, maybe that'll happen in a couple of years' time in the next console. In summary, it is clear to see though that the Pro will no doubt trump the PS5 when it comes to more stable frame rates and increasing graphical performance, but we are still trapped in 120Hz mode with limited ability to try and push beyond this. As a final thing on performance, it is also worth mentioning though that for Wi-Fi routers that provide leading bandwidths, the PS5 Pro is also upgrading from Wi-Fi 6 to 7, leading to faster downloads and better connectivity, but unless you have the routers capable of taking advantage of this may be a moot point for most of you out there. Where Sony have made a case though for the PS5 Pro is certainly the standard storage now available compared with the 825GB SSD found in the standard model, or the 1TB in the PS5 Slim. With an officially licensed additional storage costing in the region of £80 for the PS5, the 2TB storage now found within the PS5 Pro certainly offsets some of that cost if you're one that likes to have more than 3 or 4 games stored on the console at any one time. Even better if you do like to record the content you're playing. This means plenty more storage to record and store a reasonable amount of games and content on the console before you even have to consider purchasing more storage, if at all. And finally, look, for some of you out there, this may not be a big turn off, but I think it will be for most people, and that's the fact that Sony's decision to make the Pro a digital only version. Now, not only does it mean that if you have current discs from your old PS4 or PS5 disc editions, you can't play them, it also means Sony have full control of the pricing of games you buy in the store, generally meaning higher prices because there is no competition. So for example, the new Call of Duty game I managed to pick up at Asda brand new for £40 instead of the price tag of £70 in the PS5 store that you're forced to pay. Sony's way around this though, however, is similar to what we've already seen in the digital version, and that's giving you the option to purchase an external disk drive for around £100. So if, like me, you have lots of discs and that's your preferred method of gaming, you will need to add an extra £100 onto the price tag of your purchase. You will probably end up saving money in the long run with this, but it still doesn't get away from the fact it already adds to an already expensive product. In conclusion, I think if you are a big gamer who likes the best graphical fidelity and performance, and cost is no object, certainly go for the PS5 Pro, as the claimed performance improvements do sound good, and even if you're only to get half of that claimed performance, you're still going to get better than what you have now. Obviously, with a title like GTA 6 just around the corner, it will certainly be a better gaming experience than on the original console. For people that really have to think about upgrading due to financial reasons, I don't think there's loads to be missing out on here. I really don't. Paying in and around the £800 mark if you get the extra disc drive is really becoming gaming PC territory, where some of what we've already spoken about today would be available and upgradable over time if you were to choose the gaming PC option rather than the PS5 Pro. I just think that the PS5 Pro is probably a nice to have rather than a must have at this point in time. If money is no object, then for sure it's definitely worth upgrading, but if you don't rush out to go and buy one, the standard PS5 does a really solid job already for most people, and the gains you get also relies on the developers doing their job and taking advantage of the new hardware in the PlayStation 5 Pro. If you've enjoyed this video and found it useful, please hit that like button and subscribe for more, as I've got plenty of other content around PlayStation and first person shooters coming up over the next few weeks, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss those.